Hi, it's Grandma's Garden Extravaganza today, so stay tuned. Well, hello there, and thank you for joining me. Today we are going to be working on a Grandma's garden, and I have so many Grandma's gardens, and I've tried to quilt them all differently. So I hope I can give you some really good ideas on how I grow my garden. This one is going to be freehand, but I have digitized all of these patterns for those of you that are not comfortable with freehand or would rather use your computerized machine. So let's get started. Here's a picture of the quilt before I started on it. I laid it on my floor to take this picture. And I absolutely love this quilt because it's in the triangle form, not the round form, although we're going to talk about and do one of those as well. This one, the way it is set row by row, makes it look like it's folding. Isn't that awesome? It's kind of an optical illusion. I bought this quilt at a quilt show, and it's an antique. Not very big, about 60 by 60. The first thing I do when I do Grandma's Gardens is I do the connecting hexagons around it. And there's several different ways you can do that. I'm going to show you different ways. But this one I decided to do the swirls. I love the swirls. It's a little bit more quilting, but I want to show you how I did that. If you're going to do these swirls, your plan is going to be to try to keep them all the same. Now notice when I come in here, I leave a space at the top. So I come in here and I leave that space at the top so as I get out, I can complete that. So around like this. And I'll stop right here so you can see what I mean. This space right here. So I came down here, but I left that space there so I can complete it and go into the next one. Go in and out. But you want a really nice swirl if you're going to do this because it's awesome. There we go. Now let's go ahead and I did this quilt in rows, and I will show you why when it's finished. So each row has a different technique, so I could show you different techniques, but also none of the flowers in my Grandma's gardens are the same. In the middle of this one, I decided to keep it pretty simple, so I just went across like that, and then I stitch across on the yellow, go over to the next corner, come down on the yellow. I don't stay in the ditch. And then over to the yellow. Now I can start from there. Let me get my thread cut here. There we go. I'm going to change to my constant, but you can stay in regulated. We're going to make some gentle half circles around. Like this. And I'm going all the way out to the end of that particular flower. Trying to, my objective is to keep these as even as possible and come back to here. And what's going to happen, because these are in a diamond shape, is as I come around like this and I get into that top, I'm going to need to stay out on the top and fill these in a little bit. And then come back so that I can get that completely filled in. You'll see that on the other side. And you really want these to be in as much of a curve as possible. It just makes it look prettier. What you're adding is texture. So I'm in that curve now. Back to the center, curve, back to the center, curve, back to the center, and now this time I'm going to need to stay out here and just point and come back like that and back. So this gets your whole flower done very quickly. I think I'll go out and stop. Out's there. Very nice. You can see, as you go down the row, you can see this beautiful texture that that creates. Okay, on this one, in the center, I drew a line with my chalk pencil across this way from point to point, and then a little circle here in the middle, just to give myself a little bit of a guideline. After you get going on these, then you'll be able to do them without any of the chalk marks, but it does help so that I stay in line. What I'm going to do, and I'm in regulated now, is I'm going to come up to the top of that circle, and then I'm going to do a half circle over to the top of the circle and a half circle over. Top, half circle, top, half circle, top, half circle, top, and half circle. And that makes a really cute design in there. Now in this area, the first area around here, I'm going to go to the middle like this and come up and just kind of make a little curve like that. And then I'm going to do like 4 leaves down here. Of course, you could do more. And then do that on the other side. Now I know this is quite a bit of quilting, but I want to show you different ideas that you can do if you want your grandma's garden to have a lot of different ideas on it. You don't want all of your flowers to be the same, which is probably what most people do. Now, I have, you see, an area that's up higher. And so what I'm going to do is just follow that seam up. I don't want to follow that seam in the seam line. I never stitch in the ditch on these hand-pieced grandma gardens because that thread is really old that's in the ditch. I don't want to damage the thread, and I don't want to open that seam for any reason. So I'm always careful not to stitch in the ditch when it's an antique quilt. So now I'll come up and I will do this one at the top, come up to there, and then back down and follow that line down. And again, I'm about 1/8 of an inch away from the seam because I don't want to stitch in the ditch. So I complete these all the way around, following that over about 1/8 of an inch, and then we'll look at that, and then we'll do that very outside, all of those hexagons on the outside. And you might need to draw a line to make sure that you're coming straight out. What you want to be is perpendicular to the center there. Follow that up, clear out, there we go. Now in the outside hexagons, I'm going to do continuous curve. And I'll start like that, and then I'll go around all the way around the outside, or this is the inside, sorry. Like this. Just a little from point to point, go slow. You want your half circle to be about the same size. Back to where I started, so now I'm going to come on that side of that seam. Now I'll go around the top, but as I do, I'll come down and back up. on each of those seams. Out and out, they're half circles on each of those seams. Now this is another thing that you can do in the outer area when you're stabilizing, if you want to. It's less quilting. I'm going to come like this and back up and over and then back and then go around at this top like that. So you can see it's a lot less quilting probably than the swirls, although I love doing the swirls. So we are not stitching in the ditch on any of these seams. So we feel pretty good about that. Now this top one again, I come over, come down and up, over, and then back here, and then finish the top part. There we go, and we're out of it. So you're just being consistent. Follow it with your finger at first till you know where you're going. And there we go. So that raises up just that little bit in the middle. It's perfect. And sometimes you can do the entire quilt that way if that's what you want. Just do that continuous curve on all of them. It's a very simple procedure and you'll get really good at it, and it's probably, most likely, the way it would have been hand quilted. Again, I'm starting in the middle, and I'm going to do a little flower here. So I'm going to do like a little teardrop shape and then put a little stem in it. Teardrop shape. Each time I'm going out to the point of this center. Put my little stem in it. Teardrop shape, stem. Teardrop shape. There we go. So that puts our little flower in the middle. This idea, I believe, is pretty good for a beginner. Yeah. So all you're doing is a little half circle around each one, like this, to that point. There we go. And then you're doing a little bit bigger one, halfway up, halfway up. There we go. All the way around, and then you're going to come out to the edge, like that, out to the edge, and then while you're here, you're going to go up in here, and you could do the same thing up here, but I'm just going to put 3 leaves. So and they're kind of curvy, okay? And then continue around. You see how simple this is? Oh, and it's so cute. The texture is amazing. So here's my curly little leaves, nice and wavy, 3 of them, and then up like that. And that completed that area. And you can see how much this outside is sticking out. You could leave it like that. You don't have to quilt that. I'm going to because I want to show you something else, but it's kind of cool having that come up like that. So now I'm going to come over, and of course I'd have to cut my thread. This is another just really simple technique, and you could do a 1/4 inch. These are kind of small little hexagons because it's a small quilt. So, and I'm just doing about 1/8 of an inch away. I'm not worrying about going up into the top. So I'm just doing like 1/8 of an inch away, and I'm back to where I started. So now I'll come to the outside, and again, 1/8 of an inch away. This time that will take me around the top like that. By the way, I am using the beautiful Hobbs wool on this because, hey, guess what? This is an antique, and I just love the wool. It's so soft and a little bit fluffy, which is giving this just the right texture. I'm so excited about this one. I mean, look how this wonderful person made sure that she got a little flower on each one of these hexagons, and I just love looking at the work and thinking about her. And You know, I've noticed as I've done this quilt, sometimes she even has to piece a hexagon, and I just like, she ran out of that color or whatever. Bless her heart. Okay, so now this one is going to have a rose over this whole thing. And I come into a little hook like this, and then I make a little teardrop, and like this, teardrop, teardrop. It's going to be so cute in the center. And then I keep making them, but I make them a little bit bigger, and I tuck them in, tuck it in, tuck it in, and I will show you a drawing of this so that you'll get it a little bit better. Tuck it in, and again, swinging out a little bit more, swinging out, about halfway now. Now this time I'm going to go all the way out like that so I can complete that. And here I'm going to put a nice little shaped leaf in here. Now that wasn't hard, okay? You can see that leaf. Out here like this, okay? So kind of a half circle, put a stem in it, and then there we go. And we have our beautiful little feathered rose in there. Now for the outside of this one, I'm so excited. I'm going to do circles. And so as I start here like this, I'll come to the other side, and then I like to look at the seam there and sort of cross in the seam, outside, and then cross in the seam. Now when I get up to this point, I'm going to do like a figure 8, like that. So I'll come down again, up, down, up and down, like that. As I come up here, I'll do a whole figure 8 like that, down, up, and now I'm at the point where I should do the up and down. So I'm crossing again in the middle there, but you can see how that is raising up each of those flowers, so that center of those will be raised. By the way, I'm using Omni thread, which I really like on this. It's not too heavy for it. The Superior Omni thread. There we go, and look how each of those are raised up. That's just going to be so beautiful on this quilt. And you could do that flower on every one if you wanted to. Boy, you'd really know how to do it then. This next design is an easy one. You can just go around like this with the pinwheel in the middle. Come back out like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a little half circle to the middle here and come over like that, and then a half circle, and then back and forth like that, half circle, and then clear up, and then half circle, and then on the way up here, I like to do the middle one first, and then I can put the 2 on the sides. If I do side, I kind of get off kilter, so that's some hint that I've learned. Might not happen with you. And up and down and over and all the way out and over, up and down, over. And yes, I do say those things to myself because I kind of get mixed up if I don't. Plus, I'm kind of the only one here, so talking to yourself is just fine. And that completes that center. Now on the outside, I did something similar by just coming out and doing the very same thing that I did before, but this time I don't do that little half circle. I just come down, go up all the way, and kind of over, and that's about 1/8 of an inch on the fabric, not in the seam again. Got to really protect your seams. And as I come up here in the middle, one big one up there like that, and then down. So an easy design. Something you could do again on the whole thing if you wanted to. You can time yourself and see how long it takes once you figure out a design. Time yourself and see how long it takes to do one design. And then you know how much it's going to take you to do the entire row. And honestly, that's how I did a lot of stuff, because I didn't want to get bored and I wanted to know kind of when I was going to be finished. A lot of quilting is just repeat. And that's what we do. Very nice. I love that. It looks like a flower. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had a lot of fun on this one. We are going to finish this next time in part 2 of these triangular grandma's gardens, and then show you some other wonderful ideas. So see you next time.